事務委員會嘅會議喺度開始啦。咁我哋因為已經有足夠嘅法定人數，亦係夠2點半，所以我哋會喺度正式開始。會議嘅第一項就確認先前通過嘅會議紀要。有關嘅會議紀要咧就係15年嘅1月6號嘅會議紀要嚟嘅，喺2號已經發咗出去啦。咁咧就我冇收到，秘書處冇收到咧係任何嘅修訂嘅建議，所以我喺度建議，如果大家即場冇嘅，我就建議通過。多謝各位。跟住咧係進入到議程嘅第2項節，上一次會議舉行至今嘅發出嘅資料文件。
Agenda item number 2. Information papers issued since the last meeting, CB2 623 1414 bracket 01. And that's by Mr. James TO, and then a letter by James TO. The other one, CB2 724 1415 bracket 01, a letter from Dr. Kenneth CHAN. As for Mr. Dr. Kenneth CHAN, I have considered including that into an item proposed for discussion, and that's about the garrison law, and his proposal can be incorporated into that particular agenda item. Do members have any questions? Right, let us move on then. Item for discussion at the next meeting. The administration has proposed that in March we're going to discuss 3 items. First, relaxation of the age limit, Category B security personnel. Number 2, construction work for immigration staff quarters in Hang Lam Street. And third, creation of Deputy Chief Fire Officer post for implementing quality assurance and training accreditation mechanism in the Fire Services Department. At our previous meeting, we had a very heated discussion, and one item was not discussed, and that's about a control point. We will discuss it at the next meeting. There will be 4 items for discussion at the next meeting. Concerning this, do members have any questions? If not, then we move on to matters arising from the discussion of last meeting. And at our previous meeting, we spent quite a lot of time on discussing the the next generation smart IC system. And we were at the stage of voting. The time was not enough for that voting to be conducted, so I have to deal with that. The administration has responded to members' demand and has provided supplementary information to members. The paper has been sent to members. I believe you've read the paper and you take a note of the content of the paper. Since there is an information paper, I just want to know if any member want to ask further questions. And then I will ask the officials to listen to those questions. And if they are to go to the Finance Committee, then the information should be provided to members. I will move on to put the item to the vote. There will be no discussion, but you can raise any questions in terms of the information you need arising from the smart IC. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you, Chairman. According to CB 265 1415 bracket 03 NXT, I asked the administration for OECD countries, 17 countries, mandatory ID, non-compulsory ID, 11, no ID cards, 6. I also asked for another piece of information concerning countries with compulsory ID cards, 17 of them. Which countries have the powers given to the authorities to check the IDs at any time, and which country has made not carrying an ID card and a criminal offense. These are important pieces of information. Mr. To, last time the meeting clashed with my other meeting, so I want to raise a question. Since they're not going to answer it, well, it must be pertaining to this paper. I cannot allow you to reopen the discussion simply because you didn't come last time. I want to ask the Security Bureau. We also allow non-Hong Kongers to apply for using the e-channel. Local people can, of course, make use of e-channel. That will speed up the process of going through the procedures. As for visitors, can say if many people have applied for using the e-channel and these visitors come at the same time on the same day, then the whole crossing will be bursting to the seams, and many facilities in Hong Kong which are frequented by visitors are bursting to the seams. Would there be a cap on the number of visitors in Hong Kong? Well, that is in relation to the new smart ID, but it seems that it is not directly related. It's a matter of immigration. Well, I let the well, I can explain, or Ms. To can explain to you. I also have a second question. Well, I can raise the question on a second occasion, on another occasion. Mr. Charles Peter Mock. Is it on the same question? No. I agree, Mr. Chan. I agree with Ms. Ho. Now, if we share the same e-channel with mainland visitors, it will not help, even if you speed up the process by 4 seconds. My question is about paragraph 20. It's about the legal issue. According to the immigration ordinance, it's only limited to Hong Kong, but within Hong Kong. But what about the legal reading of ID card of Hong Kongers outside Hong Kong, say in Macau and the mainland? Can the law be protected? Can the law give protection? Yes, Mr. James TO. I also want to ask Ms. Ho's question. I want to explain the relationship. If they are non-residents of Hong Kong, they are given a smart ID card. And they can use the new e-channels. And then the design is the issue. If there is a certain policy, say, for example, imposing a limit on the daily incoming, daily usage of e-channel by non-residents who possess smart ICs, then you need to preload certain features to deal with non-residents who hold new smart TICs, smart ICs. If we are to give funding, if this is not incorporated, then your policy cannot be implemented. The questions have been taken note by the Security Bureau, and then also our clerk will consolidate these questions and refer these questions to you. And when you bring the matter before the FC, you need to address these questions. Who else Who else? 1 minute each. 1 minute each. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I don't support your way of handling this. We asked the administration was willing to provide information. We should discuss this, but you want to put it to the vote. No, that's not our usual practice. This is a thick paper, and you don't allow us to discuss that. I cannot accept this approach. I want to ask the consultancy report. You're good at getting consultancy reports and keeping consultancy reports secret. I have not seen any. Can the details of the report be disclosed? And concerning the view of the Privacy Commissioner, what are his views? They have asked so many questions. The administration should answer these questions, and we should discuss the matter now. You just asked us to discuss it. You asked us to speak for 1 minute. You are just causing more trouble to the Finance Committee. I hope the administration can explain further concerning the smart ICs. It is said that the data can only be read by a card reader, but in your annexes, you also say that the LCSD, the HA, the FEH Bureau also have readers which can reduce the damage caused by the contact type interface. Is it a contact type interface or non-contact type interface? I'm rather confused by that. Mr. Kenneth Kwok, I agree with Ms. Emily Lau. Last time we raised many questions in respect of the technical aspects of the smart ICs. If you just give us 1 minute each, there is not enough time for us to ask questions. When it goes before the Finance Committee, you say we are repeating, we are filibustering. You have breached the convention of the Council with regard to the way you handle the meeting. I find it very disappointing. Mr. Charles Mock, I find it strange. We should discuss it until 3:05. We still have 20 minutes to go. We shouldn't be limited to just 1 minute. I have asked over 20 questions. The administration, 2 days ago, the administration gave some replies to my 20-odd questions. We still have a lot of questions to ask. In fact, we helped them. We gave them a chance to explain. It seems that you have enough votes and you want to get it passed. Since there is time, why can't we ask our questions? Otherwise, we'll end our meeting earlier. Well, that's an overall arrangement in terms of allocation of time for each item. I have prepared some time for you to discuss other items. This is an item under matters arising. Probably Mr. Mock has not entered when I said that it was at the stage of voting, and because of time constraint, the voting was not done at the last meeting. The Security Bureau had already provided the document. The discussion at the panel is done according to the agenda, and if that item has been completed in terms of discussion, then we have to move on, and we have to follow the agenda. I know that you think that there can be more discussions on this topic. In fact, we spent a whole session on discussing the item. If you want a further discussion, there will be further discussion at the Finance Committee meeting. Well, this is just an indication of whether you object to it or not in principle. It's not endorsing the proposals in the paper. A point of order. Now, can I make such a suggestion? Since many members have a lot of questions concerning this supplementary paper, Say, for example, one way to do it is we have another 1.5 hour meeting to discuss this. I don't insist on discussing it today. The Chairman, say at the next meeting if there is a proposal to discuss a government quarter or to buy a barge in comparison with this, Chairman, you can make an assessment. It's just about information. As for this one, we really need much more information before we can come to the conclusion that it should go before the Finance Committee. And there is no waste of time. If we have adequate time for discussing the item, then it will make the discussion at the Finance Committee more smoothly. And if we don't have enough discussion here, then the Finance Committee may have to discuss it 8 or 10 hours. And the chairman may say that we want to do filibustering. As for having adequate discussion before the FC, it involves all the people.
Well, this proposal will affect everyone. So I think a thorough discussion will allay concerns. So, Chairman, please consider this proposal. I don't know whether other members are in objection to this. We have got a lot of supplementary information before us, and it's technical in nature. I think those members who are concerned about the matter are here. I think if we spend another hour or so, well, it will be very helpful. So that's a suggestion. It's not a point of order. You just suggest that we allow for further discussion. So I would like to ask you to consider postponing the vote, and we can have another hour or so for further discussion. Well, I don't want to continue like this. Mr. Kenneth Leung, is this a question? This is not it's not a question. I've told my relatives about this. They are of the view that this is a nuisance, especially my mother thinks this is a big nuisance. And let's keep my mother out of this. They are saying that this exercise is a nuisance because the smart ID card was only issued not very long ago. Please don't tell us that technology has advanced. So when will be the next replacement exercise be? So if you live to an old, ripe 90-year-old, you will have to change it again and again. We're talking about $3 billion, not 30 million. The expenditure is $3 billion. So please consider that the request for a further discussion. Well, members have many questions, and Chairman, you agree that when it comes to the FC, members can continue to raise questions on the policy. If that's the case, I hope you would say clearly that members still have policies, questions about policies, and they will continue to follow up in the FC. I don't want people to accuse us of filibustering at the FC, because some of the questions did not receive follow-up discussion here. Well, if there are views or there are outstanding issues concerning the policies, there can be a discussion. There can be discussions at the FC. I would put this on record. Mr. Kwok's views will be kept on record. I'm with you. We should do the filibustering at the FC. I would make an announcement here, because Yip Kok Kim has explained to us that we can ask questions at the FC. Please tell Mr. Tommy Cheung, Chairman of the FC, put this on record. Otherwise, he would try to draw a line. Let's save us from unnecessary arguments. All right, Mr. James To, are we going to have another slot allocated for this item before the FC? I'll consider it. Mr. Wong Yo-man, I've been given this speaking note from my assistant. The continuation of the discussion of the proposed next generation smart ID system. And now I have made all the preparation, but you don't allow me to speak. You can change the order of the items. Just change the order of the items. My assistant is very capable. This is something under matters arising. Yes, I talked about smart ID card last time. I left early, and now we have to continue. So I've been given this 6th question by my assistant. I don't doubt that your assistant and you yourself have been doing a very thorough job in preparation. There's no doubt about that. But I have to follow the procedure for our meeting. We have to follow the arrangements made for the meeting. I think the Security Bureau is aware of the current situation. You should try to answer members' questions, either addressing them individually or through other means. As regards how the FC is going to deal with this matter, it's up to the chairman of the FC. I will certainly convey Mr. Kenneth Kwok's views to the FC. So let's complete the outstanding business from the last meeting. You said you would consider whether we are going to have another panel meeting to discuss the matter. Is that the case? You have not withdrawn that decision? Yes, I'm going to consider this. All right. Please consider this proactively. All right. I want to seek members' views as to whether we express no in-principle objection to the submission of this item by the administration to the FC. No in-principle objection. That's the question. I call a division. All right? Will those in favor, we need to sound the bell. All right? 5 minutes.
黃議員啊，黃文議員呢個係一路都
So Wong Yo-man. Well, that's the arrangement for all panel meetings, including those chaired by you. I'm a bit worried. The discussion is not in a mature stage, and now you want to rush through the matter, and you want us to make a decision. Well, it's not a question of doing it in a rush. We actually spent an entire slot, and views were fully expressed. We're doing this in a great rush. There's still many questions. Well, this is just a supplementary information paper. That's why I gave you the chance to raise your questions, to let them to let them know that you still have concerns. We spent 2 hours on this item. But if the time is insufficient, you have to extend it. This is actually the standing arrangement for our panels.
舉手嘅啫。我哋跟住落嚟嘅表決咧就係。
This is a vote on the motion that this panel has no in principle objection to the submission of this item to the FC by the administration. Would those in favor please raise your hands? Clark? Mr. Chung Gokban, Mr. Chung Shukan, Mr. Wong Kok Kian, Mr. Chan Kim Bo, Mr. Leung Chi Chao, Mr. Elizabeth Kwok, Mr. Ng Leung Sing, Mr. Frankie Yik, Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, Mr. Yu Si Wing, Mr. Chan Kam Nam, Mr. Christopher Chung, Ms. Ann Jung, and Ms. Priscilla Leung. Those against, please raise your hands. Those against? Kenneth Leung, Sid Ho, Mr. James To, Gordian Mo, Mr. Chan Chun, Miss Emily Lau, Mr. Chan Carlock, Mr. Wong Yok Man, Mr. Kenneth Dennis Kwok, and Mr. Charles Moore. We have 14 for, 11 against. So we passed the proposal that we have no objection for the administration, no in principle objection to the submission of this item to the FC by the administration. Next, proposal to appoint a subcommittee under the panel to review the police guidelines and procedures on the use of force, as well as facilitating media reporting work at public assemblies. 3 members propose this. Mr. James To, Ms. Gordian Mo, and Mr. Kenneth Leung. I would like to give the floor to the 3 members to introduce the suggestion. We propose to set up a subcommittee because in the past few months there are many police misconduct. Although it may be due to a small minority of police officers, but if a small minority of police officers are abusing their power, the credibility of the police force will be undermined, and the entire community has to pay a price. If the police force doesn't have any credibility, then people will tend to resolve their own conflicts, or they will not believe in what the police has discovered and found out. Of course, the police should conduct internal investigation and rectify anything that's wrong, but this Council has a duty to tie in with the efforts. We have to understand what happened, and we should clarify certain code or principles underpinning police action. And I would like to cover also the point about facilitating media reporting at public assemblies. Reporters are having a tough time. Some of them were attacked in Tsim Sha Tsui by people who held a different political opinion.
They just reported on the people or camps with different political stances. but they were beaten up, spectacles smashed, they were given black eyes, swollen faces. Now we saw a RTHK reporter beaten up by the police. There was video recording. Even the video recording of this council showed that. If the police didn't investigate into that according to law, and this council has the duty to deal with that fairly and squarely. We need to conduct and we need to look into that and then publish our findings. That will be a basis for monitoring, and that will also be a reminder for the police. Mr. James TO, I look at it from another perspective. The security panel did set up similar subcommittees. I think we can adopt a perspective as to whether on the present foundation, on the present basis, can there be further improvements. If some colleagues were of the view that it's okay now, or broadly okay now, then having a subcommittee to look into details, look into the guidelines, procedures, reviews, records. We look at all the documents. We go through all the documents and see how these guidelines or standards are implemented in reality. On this basis, we did make some constructive recommendations or constructive criticisms. I and Ms. To asked to set up a subcommittee to look into the police conducting license checks, and also checking on the prostitutes, and also the strip and search, the necessity of strip and search at police stations. We went through the guidelines and with the police, and there were some achievements, and we were able to reduce such cases, say 1 out of 10. Now, if there is a good record, then there is no need to do so, because the criteria is very clear. They put down on the record the necessity of strip and search. The police finds the arrangement better, and they don't think there is any benefit for law enforcement by strip and search. The subcommittee is not to find faults or find out who is right and who's wrong, but it is to look into the system, the guidelines, codes, to see if there is room for improvement. It is worth doing. If we just ask our questions at the LegCo meeting, then we can file quite a lot of questions. And when you file a question, there may be allegations, and then there will be and the government, the administration, will be very defensive. But if we have a chance to sit down and talk in detail, that will have good interaction, and that will make the thing better. Mr. Kenneth CHAN. Thank you, Chairman. The purpose of the subcommittee is to help the police to enhance its transparency and to ensure due process in enforcing the law. If we look at our neighboring countries, in comparison with the code for using force by our police, I don't understand this. The police general orders are not open document, not public document. We can only it's not open to the public, and LegCo members can only have access through our own library. The setting up of the subcommittee may have several, 2 or 3 purposes. One is in response to public gathering incidents. The police use force, different levels of force, police baton, tear gas, and even guns. Now we want to know the standard and criteria for use of force adopted by the police in the future when similar assemblies occurred, similar incidents occurred that may be able to reduce the number of complaints or unhappy incidents. As for the transparency with regard to use of force, the Hong Kong police is not transparent. As for the U.S. Customs and also border police, they have clear guidelines when they can. Now let's don't talk. They have guidelines. Say if you do something, then you hit the bottom line, then they can use force. Now even in the Philippines, they also have law enforcement principles. Philippines, our neighbor, and our police is trailing behind the Philippine police in this regard. As for mass rallies and the relationship between the police and the media covering the events, let's not talk about the media. Even some medical teams who help the police and also the demonstrators. What should these healthcare teams be mindful of? That should also be the area for review. Yes, the three have given their views, I believe, rather fully. Now we have tight agenda today. We have the policy address related briefing by the Secretary for Security and also the ICAC Commissioner. The question is whether you support the setting up of such a subcommittee or not. I just want to know how many members would like to speak. And after you have spoken, then we'll make a decision whether we agree with it or not. And there will be no second round of discussion. Mr. Wong Yok Man, Ms. Claudia Mo, Ms. Emily Lau, Ms. Liu Xiu Wing, Mr. Dr. Kenneth CHAN. Who else? Chan Kim Po, Chang Lai Wan, Chan Kam Lam, Priscilla Leung. 2 minutes each. And I'll draw a line there.
唔好意思啊，我喺呢度就在座仲有冇？如果冇，我喺度劃線㗎啦。
Who else? Otherwise, I draw a line there. Each member has a responsibility to stay true. I draw a line there. Mr. Wong Yok Man, I support the setting up of this subcommittee. The police always say that they adhere to guidelines, codes, but they are exposed to have breached the rules. There are many examples, but I'm not going to repeat them here. People have the right to know the details of the procedures and also the codes so that they can protect themselves and know their duties. Say, for example, the spraying of tear gas. The police refuse to disclose the guidelines. And then time again, the police condone the abuse of power by their own people, by their own men. Say for stop and search, taking evidence, using handcuffs and using pistols. These rules are disclosed at the court. Why? With regard to public assemblies, everything is kept in secret. During the occupation movement, you can see that many policemen breached the law in so-called enforcing the law. There's 7 policemen beat up a protester, and up till now they are not prosecuted. As for the media, they do coverage on the front line. They have interaction with the police. They may enter into conflict with the police. There should be guidelines for facilitating the media to cover the events. When we go to when we do demonstration, when we have physical contacts with the police, the journalists may be caught between the two camps. Now you should try to give them a good position to take photos. The IPCC is useless. It is necessary to set up this subcommittee. Claudia Mo and then Emily Lau. well, it's a myth if the media is 100% unbiased. Now, a human being should embrace universal core values like human rights, human life. During the umbrella movement, when a journalist clashed with the police, the journalist said, "I'm a journalist," and then the policeman said, "Does it mean that the journalist calls the shots?" Now the Now TV journalist was Now TV cameraman was holding an aluminium ladder, and he was arrested for attacking the police. Now he was arrested. Later he was released, and nothing. No prosecution was taken out. That was a serious damage of press freedom. Does it mean that the journalists are all powerful? Of course not. But what they are doing is sacred, because they are helping people to exercise their right to know, and therefore support the motion. During the umbrella movement, we see media contact of the police, police media liaison, the media liaison police, and they didn't do anything, and they were useless. If we can have this subcommittee, then we can look at the codes and rules, and then we go over them with the police, and that will be very helpful. And if they have a higher sense of awareness, they will not mess up. Ms. Emily Lau, I support the setting up of the subcommittee. The relationship between police and public, relationship between police and media, rather poor. If we can sit down and talk calmly, identify the problems, and then find solutions acceptable to all parties, that will be very useful. Now, a few years ago, we set up subcommittee on strip and search. We did a lot of work, and you can see that the number of strip and search cases declined to a very small number. And nobody is complaining. It is really a way of solving problems. Mr. Yu Wang and then Mr. Kenneth CHAN. Now we've seen that in the past few months, in respect of police enforcing the law, we discussed it at the panel meetings. We asked questions at the LegCo meetings. The police enforce the law according to the law, according to their rules, and the IPCC also conducts review on the actions taken by the police. On the 15th of October, the Pan-Democrats members made a petition. I don't think there's a need to ask so many questions and having so many petitions, and then we still have to form a subcommittee. We have too many things to do. We have too many subcommittees. There's no point of having another subcommittee. Dr. Kenneth CHAN, Chairman, I speak in support of setting up of the subcommittee to look into the criteria and guidelines and codes for using force by the police. I want to get the police general orders, but I have to go to the library, our library. In fact, there are volumes as big as this, and the general orders are changed from time to time. The old versions have been thrown away, and we only have the latest version. So those who are concerned about policy in this area, members of this council, academics, media people who want to study into that, this is a very important issue that will enhance transparency and accountability. Press freedom is related to exercising human rights. When people exercise civil and political rights, they may suffer from abuse of power by the police. Apart from looking at the police general orders, we should also look at other related issues. Say, for example, headquarters orders. They have to be complied with by the individual police officers. Otherwise, they will face this disciplinary action. With the setting up of subcommittee, the police will cooperate with this subcommittee so that members of the public can know through this subcommittee on the basis, criteria, orders, when the police exercise its force. And that will be positive to police and police relation with the people. Mr. Chan Kam-lam and then Mr. Chan Kim-po.
Well, in the recent times, media work has been very difficult. Apart from major incidents such as fire and or mass assemblies, the reporters are always there at the front line. So if there's a mechanism which can enable easy access to news by the public, that would be good. In the past, the arrangements was quite good, but in the recent protests and in the occupation movement, there were people trying to charge the police line, and some reporters were also at the very front of the scene, so their work is difficult. Media work is difficult. I think reporters and their associations would pay attention and monitor to their needs. So if they need anything, and if something can be arranged by the police, they would not hesitate to raise them. Sometimes reporters are mingling with protesters. That's not really good for either group. Mr. Chan Kim-po, a small minority of police officers have abused their powers. There is a mechanism to handle complaints, and there's also the criminal justice system. Some police officers are actually reluctant to enforce the law because of fear of a complaint about abusing powers. Some people claim to be working for the media. They just create some document ID for themselves. Actually, they are doing things like protesters. If we set up a subcommittee, we are in effect telling the police not to do their job. The guidelines and orders for the police force have been evolving over the years. That's why Hong Kong is one of the safest places in Hong Kong in the world. We should not allow people with conflict of interest or ulterior motive to set up this subcommittee to offer their side of their story. So I'm against the setting up of a subcommittee because we can certainly achieve the objective through other means. Ms. N. Jiang, for those members who have co-sponsored this motion, they are suggesting that we should help the police in setting up certain procedures or guidelines to guide the work of the police. But under Article 73 of the Basic Law, the Legislative Council does not have that power. And under Article 62 of the Basic Law, the relevant policy and the formulation of policy should be the duty of the administration. If you think something is inappropriate or the police has done something unreasonable, you can always take the complaint to the IPCC. And electrical members can also raise questions if they think that certain action is wrong, and they can ask the police to explain. We have to be clear about our own powers and functions. I'm against the proposal. Ms. Priscilla Leung. Well, our police force is one of the finest in the world because if these incidents had happened in the United States, we will have a major problem. Nothing is perfect, but we should not do something because you think that certain acts are wrong in your eye, and you then claim that there's a major problem with police force. During the occupation movement, there are a lot of provocation. There's a lot of provocation. There are people using foul language. And once you have a yellow ribbon displayed, it seems that you can use abusive language to attack a police officer. We should not we should not do anything to hinder the police work. In the long run, we should consider the introduction of the offense of police or insulting the police. We should also try to understand whether the police force is finding it difficult to attract young officers to join them. It seems that the subcommittee is trying to find fault with them. I think if you are really trying to help them and not to hinder their work, and you should not try to make things difficult for them, especially when it may not be appropriate to disclose some aspects of police work. Given the environment we are now in, I'm against the proposal to set up the subcommittee. I want to remind members, at the same time, we can only set up 10 subcommittees under the panels of the House Committee. Under Rule 26B, if the quota is fully taken up, then a proposal to set up a subcommittee will be put on the waiting list. There are already 10 such subcommittees in operation, and one is on the waiting list. So would those in favor of setting up the subcommittee please raise your hands? Okay. A division has been claimed. Please sound the bell.
請我哋議員注意咧，我哋跟住嚟
Members, please note that we are calling division, and this is in respect of the proposal to set up a subcommittee under the panel to review the police guidelines and procedures on the use of force, as well as facilitating media reporting work at public assemblies. If we are to set up a subcommittee under 26B rule of procedure, it would only be put on the waiting list. There's already one subcommittee on the waiting list before this one.
With those in favor of setting up the committee, please raise their hands. Those 3 members who are not members, those 3 councillors who are not members, please don't raise your hands. Mr. Kenneth Leung, Sid Ho, James To, Claudia Mo, Chan Chi-chun, Leung Kok Hong, Emily Lau, Kenneth Chan, Wong Yok Man, Charles Mok, and Kenneth Kwok. Mr. Leung Kok Hong, please don't raise your hand. Otherwise, I will cancel the votes you cast. Those against? Those who are against, Wong Kok Kin, Christopher Chong, Chung Kok Pan, Priscilla Leung, Chan Kim Po, Elizabeth Kat, Ng Leung Shing, Frankie Yik, Ko Wai Kung, Yu Si Wing, Chan Kam Lam, Christopher Chung, and Chang Lai Wan. The outcome, or the result, rather. 11 for and 13 against. The motion is negatived. Agenda item number 5, or rather, agenda item number 6. What's the matter? Nothing. A briefing by Secretary for Security on the Chief Executive's 2015 policy address. Let us invite the officials into the room. And the officials are the Secretary for Security, the Permanent Secretary for Security, Ms. Joshua Law, Under Secretary John Lee, Ms. Mimi Lee, Deputy Secretary for Security, Ms. Shirley Yong, Deputy Secretary, Ms. Maggie Wong, Deputy Secretary, Mrs. Erica Hoy, Commissioner for Narcotics, and Ms. Wendy Lang, Administrative Assistants. The Secretary has already given us a speaking notes. The Secretary, would you please give us a short briefing on this? Thank you, Chairman. The SC on the 14th of January published delivered his policy address with regard to the initiatives and measures in the security portfolio. We've already provided a paper. I would like to highlight the several initiatives in the policy agenda. First, relaxation of upper age limit 65 years of Category B security personnel. In line with the population policy to extend working life assistance and unleash potential local workforce, we propose to release the upper age limit of security personnel. This is one of the industries which have an age limit. Majority of them are in Category B security service. They can provide different types of they can provide security work for different types of premises without carrying firearms. Having considered the objective of population policy, the security industry, and the regulatory regime, we propose to suitably relax the age limit. The SGSIA is the statutory body for setting up the rules and regulations, and we will propose to relax the age limit, and we expect to table the matter before the electrical security panel for discussion in the first half of the year. In drawing up the detailed proposals. We will consider the views of various sectors, including labor groups, and we'll try to ensure the quality of service of the security service industry. According to the law, the criteria for licensing set up by the SGSIA has to be put before this council and approved by this council before gazetted for implementation. The second item is on attracting talent from outside Hong Kong. We adopt an open policy to facilitate people from all over the world, talents from all over the world to come to work and live in Hong Kong. We want to enhance Hong Kong's capability of attracting talents and retaining talents to face with the international competition for talents. In the second quarter of this year, we'll launch a number of measures to enhance our immigration policy. We'll implement a pilot scheme to attract second-generation Chinese Hong Kong permanent citizens, permanent residents who have emigrated overseas return to Hong Kong. They can stay in Hong Kong for a year to find jobs. Number two, relax the stay arrangements for entrants under the General Employment Policy and Admission Scheme for mainland talents and professionals to facilitate the entry and stay of professionals and entrepreneurs. We allow them to stay longer and reduce the number of applications they have to make. Number three, relax the point system of the Quality Migrant Admission Scheme. Those who have international working experience who have qualification of outstanding education, outstanding universities will be given higher scores. And we will also consider various factors in respect of considering the applications of entrepreneurs to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. As for capital investment entrance scheme, it was suspended starting from the 15th of January so that we can focus our attention on entrepreneurs who want to start up their businesses in Hong Kong. This will also facilitate the Immigration Department for handling over 15,000 applications under the capital investment entrance scheme. The suspension will not affect the applications that are being processed or the applications that are pending. If applicants have invested no less than $10 million on approved assets, if the investments will be provided after the application within 6 months after the application has been made, we will consider such applications. As for investments no less than $10 million, if they were made within 6 months before the suspension date, and if the application is made within 6 months after the suspension date, then the application will still be considered. The enhanced arrangements are in the paper. The Security Bureau and other departments will introduce a number of measures to promote mutual use of automatic immigration clearance facilities, enhance our aging penal institutions, and also enhance emergency rescue and ambulance services. They are in the paper. I just want to highlight a few points. First, concerning mutual use of e-gates. To enhance immigration handling capacity and efficiency, the Immigration Department has entered into arrangements with Korea, Germany, Singapore, and Australia to enable the visitors to use automated clearance services. And we will continue to liaise with countries and regions with close relationship with Hong Kong on tourism and economic development to implement reciprocal use of automated immigration clearance services so that Hong Kong citizens can be facilitated in traveling overseas and thereby enhancing economic, social, and cultural ties with these places. As for anti-drug efforts, we have to make sure that the measures are able to respond to the evolving drug situation in the past few years. The government, together with the efforts of different sectors of the community, have successfully reverse the rising trend of reported drug abusers. The number of young abusers has declined substantially, but we should not be complacent. We will continue the 5-pronged strategy through prevention, education, publicity, rehabilitation, law enforcement, cooperation, research, and implement our anti-drug measures. And we have noticed that there is a problem of deterioration of the drug problem. We will implement various measures to enhance the awareness among the community towards drug abuse and early identification of drug abusers so as to provide immediate and ready assistance. As for reduction of the frontier control zone, we have introduced a reduction in February 2012 and June 2013. More than 1,450 hectares of land have been released. According to the progress of the construction of fence as for Ngtung River and Lin Mahang, the reduction of this section will be implemented within this year. By then, the FCA reduction scheme will be completed. Finally, enhancing emergency and rescue and ambulance services. We'll continue to enhance the use of resources, improve the emergency and rescue service of the fire services. The Pak Shing Kok New Fire and Ambulance Services Academy will be completed by the end of this year. The new campus will be equipped with various simulation training facilities which will allow fire services personnel to receive realistic training in safe simulated settings so as to better equip them with firefighting and rescue techniques to enhance operational efficiency. The new campus will also enable firemen and ambulance trainees to be trained together, thereby enhancing their coordination and response capability in response to disasters. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I and my colleagues are happy to answer members' questions and advice. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lee, Lee Chao Yan, Wong Kok Heng, Wong Yok Man, Pun Siu Ping, Leung Kok Hong, Claudia Mo, Chung Kok Ping, Kenneth Chan, Priscilla Leung, Chan Kam Lam, Yu Si Wing, Charles Mok, Kwok Ka Ki, and Kwok Wai Kang, and Sid Ho, and Elizabeth Kat, and Christopher Chung in the queue. 17. Okay, let's do it this way. Four minutes each. But I need to get your agreement to extend this meeting to 3:30. 5:30. I'll have to extend the meeting to 5:30. If you agree, then I'll extend the meeting to 5:30. Everybody will be given 4 minutes. I draw a line after Mr. Christopher Chung. We still have another item, which is the report by the ICAC commissioner. So even if there is a new member who enters into the room and asks for I will not allow that. The government doesn't practice what it preaches. It says it cares for young people, it cares for upward mobility of young people. But you are doing something else. What are you doing? You are doing the contrary. You allow the business sector to get instant food. They can immediately import mainland talents, import more of them, allow more of them to stay in Hong Kong, give them an easy way to become Hong Kong residents. In 2013, 8,000 of them. According to your method, they can stay in Hong Kong easier. The first contract 2 years, after 2 years, and extension 6 years, and then 7 years, then they get the policy. They get the permanent residency according to your policy. So 1 year, 8,000 people. All of them stay in Hong Kong. After 7 years, 560,000. And then after 14 years, they will become PRs, permanent residents of Hong Kong. How can Hong Kong people, young people, have any upward mobility opportunities? They will block all the roads. You don't need to nurture young people. They are instant noodles. They are instant food. They are instant talents. They can be imported directly into Hong Kong. You don't need to give any commitment to young people. The CE is good at this. If you can't get any jobs in Hong Kong, go to the mainland to get jobs. So you force Hong Kong young people to work in the mainland, and then you import mainland people into Hong Kong. So you just want to block the upward mobility of our young people. That's your policy. According to your policy, your population policy, how can you do that? According to my understanding, 8,000 people per year in 2013. Very soon, in 7 years, 560,000. And then these 560,000 will be Hong Kong PRs. Definitely not. Whether it is the quality migrant scheme or the admission of mainland talents and professionals, we are to import suitable talents to meet our demand, human resource demand.
Well, this criterion has always been there. There's no change. We are now providing a more relaxed arrangement for extension of stay, so that they would see Hong Kong as more attractive place, and they would stay. And according to our existing policy 1, 2, 2, 3 arrangement, or under the new arrangement for the mainland talents and talents from other places, they will have to stay in Hong Kong for 7 years before they become PR. We will have to import talent because of shortage in Hong Kong. I don't think the employer would just deliberately try to get people from outside Hong Kong, because on the whole, the cost is higher for importation. Mr. Lee, you say this is for mainland talents, but if you look at the scheme as a whole, for non-mainlanders, we issue the 30,000 visas a year. Of course, some of them will not stay. We're talking about. Well, I was asking you questions about 8,000. Mr. Wong Kok Heng, 2 questions. First, the upper age limit for the Category B security personnel is going to be extended. Well, extended to what age? It's not in the paper. For civil servants, the retirement age is going to be raised from 60 to 65. So for security personnel, Category B security personnel, would the age limit be raised to 70? Is body checks required, and who will pay for the cost of such body checks? Can you tell us more about your thinking behind this? Second, the torture claimants. There are many illegal immigrants. According to some report, that most of them come from Africa. And in Hong Kong, after entering as illegal immigrants, they would lodge a torture claim so that they can extend their stay in Hong Kong. And they would make use of legal aid to lodge one appeal after another, and we have a growing problem, and no solution is in sight. So what is your response to the 2 problems? Secretary, first on the question of relaxation of the upper age limit of Category B security personnel, we have conducted a review because there's a call for this from the industry and the employer. That's different proposals. Some say the age limit should be raised from 65 to 70. Some say it's good enough to raise it to 68. we have conducted our study. We have something in mind, but why haven't put down anything, any age in the paper? Well, it's because it's not up to the Security Bureau to make the decision. There's a statutory body responsible for that. But of course, we have a certain age in mind. We have to extend it suitably. If it's a very short extension, it's not really meaningful. So we understand the significance of this. We would present our proposal to the authority. Once it's agreed, we can make an announcement. We don't want to preempt the authority, but I can say that we have heard from the industry a very clear suggestion. We are going to present our proposal to the authority. Well, if body checks are required, then the checks are conducted for the purpose of helping them to find jobs, to prove that they are physically fit. This is in line with the population policy, to extend the working life of our people. And we want to have a system whereby everyone will have peace of mind. Well, the authority has already taken this up as an agenda item. So it's just a few weeks away before we can present the entire package and consult the views of the authority. At the end of the day, whatever the decision is made by the authority, we still need to table the proposal here in this council for members to endorse. All right, there will be an item at the next meeting of the panel on security. 689 should highly appreciate the work of the secretary, because strong force was used to suppress protesters, and you condone the harsh measures taken by the police. And so in the policy initiative address, nothing has been said about this line of work. He should have given you a medal. There are only two lines in the policy address. First, relaxation of upper age limit of Category B security personnel, and second, attracting talent from outside Hong Kong. In relation to the upper age limit relaxation, we are not going to oppose to it. But in view of the job nature of security personnel, and if you want those who are over 65 to work as security personnel, you have to be careful because of the long working hours. And this council allows the administration to drag its feet over the issue of standard working hours. Would the senior citizens be fit to do this? And as you have said, the criteria for issuing a security personnel permit has to be approved by this council. But you use the wording suitably reflects the upper age limit. What do you mean by suitably relax? It doesn't mean anything. Or to a certain extent, there would be a relaxation. To a certain degree, it would be relaxed. Well, it's meaningless. In terms of attracting talent from outside Hong Kong, you have stopped or suspend the capital investment admission scheme. But there was no prior consultation. The relevant trade was caught by surprise. It said that this is not about attracting people with money. And as for the scheme, to attract second generation of Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents, why only Chinese permanent residents, children, are eligible? Even 20% of this council's members can be non-Chinese. So why don't you extend this to children of non-Chinese PR of Hong Kong? And you are also going to relax the stay arrangement for entrance under the General Employment Policy and the admission scheme for mainland talents and profession to facilitate the entry and stay of professionals and entrepreneurs. We use the same word, a refined choice. And why don't you say improve or adjust? You use the word adjust in another paragraph. What do you mean by the refined? If you can't express yourself clearly, I'm sure you're not very good in your job. As for enhancing emergency rescue and ambulance services, the Fire Services Department has ignored the welfare of ambulance officers for a long time. They do not get an hour of a meal break like other civil servants. This has been a long-standing issue. Have you done anything to resolve this? Well, Mr. Wong Yuman, you have done a very good job in background reading, so we don't have time for the Secretary to respond. I have two questions. First, the screening of admission of under the admission of talent scheme. Last year, we admitted some 4,000 people under the scheme. 2,500 of them were earning under $20,000 per month. The basic requirement is that these people are allowed in because there are there's a shortage of supply of the same type of worker in Hong Kong. Would you adopt the same criteria under the supplementary labor importation scheme? And that is, employer will be required to do local recruitment, and also the LWB and the LAB should be involved in vetting the applications. You're also going to introduce a pilot scheme for the admission of second generation of Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents. It said that there are 840,000 people in this category. In the first year, they will be allowed to come, and then in the second year, they have to find a job and be employed, and they should be given market level salaries. No job restriction is imposed. As long as they get a job and the pay is up to the required level, it's okay. How do you ensure the transparency of the salary level will be as you have said? Secretary, on the question of admission of mainlanders or mainland talents, yes, there are thousands admitted under the scheme. Why is it that some are getting a pay under $20,000? Well, they are here to give some artistic performances, but they also can't. Some are getting, of course, high pay. If we have to admit a talent, and it's not importing a worker, importation of worker is a different matter. So we have to look at whether there's a local need, and it's difficult. It cannot be sourced locally. And then second, we'll look at whether the wage or salary level is at par with the local market level. If it's not in line with local salary level, or if local people are available for the job, of course, the application will not be considered favorably. This is the same as the admission scheme for talents from outside Hong Kong. And we have been implementing this admission scheme since the reunification. And this is also along the same line of the pilot scheme to attract the second generation of Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents because we have an aging population. We'd like to attract people to work in Hong Kong. These are people or talents which are not available in Hong Kong so that they would complement the local population. But we have to understand that policy will not bear fruit the next day after its announcement. So we have to take a long-term view. Mr. Leung Kok-hong, the Secretary is very careful. He said that we have housing problems and because the long-term view taken in the past, because you didn't want to stimulate the housing market and you took certain measures, and now see what situation we are in. You want to extend the upper age limit of security personnel, or they don't bear any firearm, they work in standalone buildings.
You expect that the MPF account will not be able to see them through their retirement. They have to work even after 65. What is your population policy? It seems that it is really a kind of you, those who can work after 65. In our society, the poor have to continue to work after the age of retirement. The marginal productivity is declining. Now, if he has to stand all day long at the age of 50, he will be suffering, and he will even suffer more after 65. Now, many security guards can write good calligraphy. Maybe for those who have who are age 65, there is universal retirement protection. Then they can retire, and then young people can take up the jobs. The young people will not receive an hourly pay of just $32.5. They will only get jobs. They will only want jobs $40 per hour or above. People have no way to make a living, so they take up the job of take up these jobs. His policy address didn't mention that, and this year his policy address suddenly come up with the talent scheme. Now, C.Y. Leung's daughter is really a talent, and she was on air, and then for 5 minutes, and then everybody is trying to scrambling to watch her, and his father or her father doesn't allow her to be shown on the TV. His daughter, C.Y. Leung's daughter, is a talent. She is even smarter than her father. Any policy of C.Y. Leung is bad, and it's bound to fail. Have you heard any leader of a country asking his or her child not to speak to the people? His daughter is a talent, but her father is a tyrant. How many talents are like the sister of Chen To? They like the daughter of Chen To. They come to work as iBankers, and how many come to the Ocean Park and do something and take up a job? Now, they say her father criticized the people of Hong Kong, said Hong Kong people are not obedient, yet he sent his daughter to Hong Kong and live here. How many talents who come to Hong Kong from the mainland, and they have parents who are the senior officials of the Communist Party? Talents, shameless. Leung Kok-hong, your time has completed. Well, you don't need to send me out. Mr. Leung Kok-hong, what talent is she? A Communist Party member only. I hope members can observe the rules and procedures at in our chamber. Ms. Claudia Mo. The government's or the administration's population importation policy is really absurd. C.Y. Leung, on one hand, asks young people of Hong Kong to go north to find opportunities, go to the mainland, and on the other hand, he imports talents, professionals from the mainland. Mr. Chairman, I have some numbers. We imported about 60,000 talents. The average monthly salary, less than 10,000, 40,000 of them. Those 10,000 to those who made $10,000 to $20,000, about 10,000 of such talents. Those above, those who make more than $20,000 per month, about 4,000. What kind of talents are they? I don't know whether the Secretary has paid attention to this. That is the Financial Development Council, Financial Services Development Council, a council set up by C.Y. Leung as a kind of fan club. And it issued a human resource report and criticized the new employees of the financial services sector. They say that the English standard of Hong Kong people is bad, Putonghua proficiency is bad. The answer is to import talents from the mainland. The English is poor, the Putonghua is poor. You can apply this to every job or trade or industry. Then you really don't have any job for Hong Kong people. People can say your English is not good, your Putonghua is not good. You want to dilute the population of Hong Kong. And in fact, you want to replace the population of Hong Kong. You cannot accept the people of Hong Kong, the young people of Hong Kong. They are not up to the mark. They are of poor quality. They should leave Hong Kong. Many young people you encourage young people to take up overseas jobs. You really give a raw deal to our younger generation. I think concerning the numbers mentioned by Ms. Mo, I don't know where does the numbers come from. SAMP. If you allow me, then I will look into those numbers and see how they obtain those numbers. I have the numbers under the GEP 2014, 31,000. Mainland people, 9,000 among the 31,000. I don't know why there's such a big number. Maybe they add this and add that. I don't know what do they add. I want to address one point specifically with regard to the population policy looked after by the steering committee under the chief secretary. The steering committee have members who are outstanding people from different sectors of the community or from different sectors of the economy. We, of course, want to provide upward mobility opportunities for our young people. If we have shortage in a certain area, we should fill the gap, but there is no replacement. Definitely not. Mr. Chung Kok Pan. Mr. Chairman, every country in the world encourages capital investment entrance. I find it strange that the administration cut off the capital investment entrance scheme. The CE said that Hong Kong was not short of money. Of course, Hong Kong has a lot of money. If we have a lot of money, then we shouldn't have such a wide poverty gap.
個決定呢，就我想問局長啊，即係佢用咩準則去決定取消呢？
I just want to know what are the criteria for suspending this scheme, and you will force the immigrant consultant companies to follow up. Now, the investment sector, the asset management sector, the financial services sector, the lawyers, the accounting firms will also be affected by the suspension. Will you review this scheme? Will you set up a quota? You shouldn't open the door wide. You can say have 1,000, 2,000 per year. And you can have some education qualification requirement, or you can impose a job creation requirement. The world is encouraging capital investment migrants, and Hong Kong just shut its doors to them. Now, with regard to the introduction of capital investment entrance scheme, it was introduced in 2003 after SARS. The economy at that time was very poor. At present, Hong Kong's economy is very much different from the situation there and then. After careful consideration, we think we should suspend the CIES, and we will replace it with the encouragement of entrepreneurs and job and also startup enterprises to come to Hong Kong. They will be able to create more job opportunities for Hong Kong, as said by Mr. Chung. The majority of the countries in the world, in particular the advanced economies, have adopted the same approach, have adopted the same direction in dealing with this issue. We have received about 15,000 applications under the CIES. Even if the immigration department is working full steam, it can only handle 3,000 to 4,000. So in the coming 3 to 4 years, these firms mentioned by Mr. Chung still have a lot of business. It doesn't mean that they don't have any business from now. The queue is very long, very long. Assuming that today we continue, then a new application today can only be handled after 4 years. Therefore, we need some time to deal with the backlog. And we are concerning starting up business in Hong Kong. This is a new arrangement, and we see whether it is effective and how far it can go. Kenneth Chan and then Priscilla Leung. Different countries have different immigration, population importation policy to fill the gap in certain areas where from where the market cannot obtain enough workforce. Now, since there is a gap in human resource, you should start with the education sector. You cannot import a certain profession because we don't have such courses. We don't have the professionals in this area. We have a special population structure. Say, for example, women, they have to take care of families. They leave the labor force, and therefore in the labor market there is a shortage of in a certain area, and then you find a simple way out. Just open the door and let people in. You need to look at this matter very seriously. It's not that I have 3 or 4 schemes there and then I can solve the problem. The schemes shouldn't just be enhanced according to your words. At the end of the day, the schemes have served their days. The local markets, the local universities are able to meet the demand through adjusting education policies, through adjusting the courses. Do you agree? Yeah, Mr. Chan has a point here. We import talents and professionals for the purpose of developing the economy of Hong Kong, improving people's livelihood. Mr. Chan, you're right. Should we say do something, say, because women have to care for the family and they leave the labor market? The population policy report has made a number of recommendations, but they fall outside our portfolio. The major labor force, of course, is the local labor force, and we want to liberate labor force of women. We want to liberate the labor force from the gray hair groups. We also want young people to adjust to changing times and develop their potentials and exercise their potentials. With changing situation, there are gaps in the labor market. The talent importation policy is to fill the gap. Any big city has such a need, and Hong Kong is no exception. We need overseas talents coming to us to help our economic development. We definitely do not import talents overseas talents to replace local people.
Thank you, Secretary. I think in implementing the policy, the immigration authority must make sure that the employer has exhausted all means, and then he still cannot find a local person to do the job before importation is allowed, because this is very unfair to local people. It's a lazy approach. 30,000 young people, many of them equipped with a degree, are jobless. Ms. Priscilla Leung, after the occupation movement, the relationship between young people and the police has been poor. Many police officers joined the force because of the willingness to serve, and now morale is an issue. And there was a kindergarten teacher who supported the movement, tried to instill in the young pupils a negative image of the police. So what are you going to do to normalize the relationship? So I think apart from those who have been subjects of complaint, they should not be branded under the same description. And also I'm concerned about the wastage of police officers. And the retirement age for the police force is very young. Some of them are in the early 50s, 52, 53, and they told me that they had retired. They're still very young and they're very bright. These people are still very young. What are you going to do to make sure that they can continue to contribute to the society? And I also want to get from you some information, and that is during the occupation movement, many police officers overworked. One officer is still in a coma. So they have suffered from physical problems because of the hard work. Is this really occupationally related? And has the officer recovered? and many police officers have told me that they suffer humiliation. So can we introduce an offense of humiliation of police? If the police do not do a good job, you can lodge a complaint. But at the same time, you should protect police officers against unreasonable humiliation leading to emotional problems. Please don't speak to yourself in this meeting. Secretary, after the 79-day occupation movement, I know the police officers worked very hard, and most people in Hong Kong are supportive of the work of the police during the period, from the district council, from the DFCCs, and emails from different walks of life, totaling more than 17,000. Of course, there are different views circulating in the community. Our frontline police officers are professional people. They have high morale. On the question of retirement, police officers are civil servants. So their retirement age and the policy of retirement age are treated as something under the Civil Service Bureau. Mr. Chen Kam-lam, I agree with the decision to suspend the capital investment entrance scheme. I want to comment on the mutual use of e-gate with other overseas authorities. From our own experience, at a boundary crossing points, for these self-service counters, there are many users. The queue tends to be long at Loma Chao, at Huanggang, and Lowu, and even Shamchuan. A lot of people are crossing these boundary control points. Does the government get any plan to increase such automated channels? Because we want to save time, and of course the government can also save manpower. But if the queue is as long as the counters, then people would think that this is not really convenient. Do you have any plan to increase the number of e-channels? And visitors usually would use such facilities at the airport or other boundary crossing points. There are more expats in Hong Kong using the same facilities. Do you have any plan to expand the provision? Thank you for your question. From 2015-2016, funding has been secured for an additional 150 e-channels, and the 308 e-channels will be updated. Usually, two groups of people will use e-channels: Hong Kong residents and visitors. We have e-channels for Hong Kong people, but we also have multifunctional e-channels, so they can serve both Hong Kong residents and visitors. In the main, they are used by visitors, but sometimes there are few visitors. We should not let the e-channels idle. So Hong Kong residents would ask why they are not allowed to use those e-channels. So that's why we want to introduce the service of multifunctional e-channels. We have a pledge concerning the time needed for clearance. And we also want to avoid a long waiting time. But one thing affects another. This is a reciprocal. Let's say if we look at our agreement with Korea, we have entered into an agreement with Korea, and there are more visitors from Korea, and there are more Hong Kong residents visiting Korea. We are also working out something with Australia and Europe. This is a convenience for Hong Kong people and for visitors. That's why our new e-channels are multifunctional that can be used by both Hong Kong residents and visitors. Mr. Yu Si-wing, and then Mr. Charles Moore. With regard to e-channels, the arrangement in the last couple of years has worked well. The arrangement has been extended to Korea, Australia, and Europe. It facilitates Hong Kong people visiting those countries. In the coming 1 or 2 years, how many more countries can be covered by the extension of this arrangement? And from the recent news reports, people coming to Hong Kong are facing congestion on the mainland side because their e-channels are shared by Hong Kong residents and mainlanders, and therefore there is congestion. Some people think that it takes a longer time to process holders of mainland travel documents than local people. I know you have regular meetings with mainland authorities, and you would discuss things such as clearance arrangements. In the past, there are more Hong Kong residents than the mainlanders using the e-channels. Now it's 50-50 on the whole. So what are you going to do to work out a more convenient arrangement for Hong Kong people? Thank you. The first question is about the objective of extending mutual use of e-gate. Of course, our objective is to cover as many countries as possible. We have talked to European countries, but the prerequisite is that they have this system in place before they agree to talk about reciprocal use. We have a one-way arrangement. For example, for frequent visitors to Hong Kong who can come without a visa, they can apply for the use of our e-channels. This is one way. But we want to have mutual use, two-way. But that depends on their availability. They must have something compatible with ours. I'm glad to tell the member that this is the global trend. For example, there has been constant upgrading of the photo and other features of travel documents. In Europe, they have a dedicated task force on this, and some countries have already developed such systems. We hope that we can avoid the need to queue up when we visit those countries. Well, it's convenient. For example, when you visit Korea, you're treated like locals. It's difficult to get a start, but after we have started this, we have achieved quite good results. The director is monitoring the situation closely. So if there are opportunities, he would attend international conferences and tell people how good our passports are, and then suggest that we should agree on some arrangement. As for the other questions, there was a an incident last week. We have talked to the mainland authorities over the possibility of providing for better arrangements. Mr. Charles Moore, I'm also concerned about the admission of talent scheme. There are reports saying that a number of jobs would be covered by the talent importation scheme, but the government has denied the report. I don't know who is responsible for what, the Security Bureau or the Labour and Welfare Bureau, because when you talk about admission of talents, many sectors and different jobs are involved, but we have not seen any consultation with the trades. In Hong Kong, we are not just suffering from a lack of talents, but there's a mismatch of the skills and the jobs. At present, you only look at the educational qualification. You get certain marks if you have a PhD degree, and also some other marks or points for another qualification. So we may end up with a lot of highly qualified people, but their skills are not really needed in Hong Kong. So this is just one of the problems, and there are other problems based on the conspiracy theory. And the admission scheme would mean that the people will be refrained from enrolling on certain courses. That has happened to Singapore. So whether it's an admission scheme for mainland talents and professionals or quality migrant admission schemes, have you looked into the problems faced by the employers so that you want to relax the criteria? And can the problems be solved in such a mechanical manner?
Well, I've said it before. Let me repeat. The population policy is focused on nurturing local talents, but there are gaps in the labor market, and we need to import overseas talents to fill their gaps and help us develop the talents. As for the quality migrant scheme, we have a quota which is 1,000 per year, and we have not reached the quota. The maximum is just 400 per year. Why don't you improve that then? We need to, say, add some scores to certain categories. Do you have any arrangement by sector? Now, there is a scoring system. Now, after the scores are calculated, say if he passes a certain score, then the case will put before an independent advisory committee. The committee looks at case by case. Whether the person possesses a profession or has a profession which will help Hong Kong if he is allowed to come to Hong Kong. And then recommendation will be made to the the Director of Immigration. That's why the quota of 1,000 is not filled, because there is a gatekeeping process. And this gatekeeping process is to make people is to assure people that we're not just doing things at our own whims. Mr. To, and then Ms. Elizabeth Cutt. Population policy. It isn't appropriate for the Security Bureau to talk to us on population policy. We should talk to the whole government. It involves investment in education, manpower planning, economic development, quality of living, family policy, a host of issues. The Security Panel or the Security Bureau holds the border or controls the border. You keep the gates. It's a pity that you look after the QMAS. In fact, we should discuss the matter with Manpower Panel, we should discuss the matter with the Education Bureau, and also the Labor and Welfare Bureau. Now, I want to ask you, if young people don't have the qualifications or capabilities, then we should invest more in education, nurture our young people so that they can take up the responsibilities instead of hunting the talents from other places. We get the talents from other places. We don't drive them out after a certain period of time. They can stay here. If we absorb talents, new migrants to Hong Kong within a short period of time, and if they cannot adjust to local culture, then this high-speed population replacement measure will only destroy our local culture. But this is not your portfolio, I know that. Behind you, you have the the council, the EXCO, and also the CE. And if young people cannot get jobs in Hong Kong, we should go after CY Leung. They should go after CY Leung. A while ago, we saw reports that the administration is considering allowing the Type 2 children or the new migrants who have got the ID cards of Hong Kong, who cannot adapt to local conditions, can get back their mainland accounts, mainland residential status or household registration, so that they can go back to the mainland. For those who can't adapt to local conditions, they want to go back, they want to go back their house to get their household registration. They can have their education in the mainland. What is the progress so far for reinstating their household status? Now, I want to address Ms. Ho's question. There is no high-speed absorption of overseas talents to Hong Kong. Even within our portfolio, we work on the existing mechanism. We relax on the term for application so that they have a high sense of belonging. As for the QMAS, we only have 1,000 in the quota. How can you say it's high speed? But what about helping the Type 2 children to get household registration in the mainland? We have heard this proposal. The mainland authorities have heard this view. They are studying this. And we will also give our view on this matter. When there is an outcome, a suitable outcome, we will report to the community and also to this council. Ms. Elizabeth Cat. Can he provide further information? Ms. Elizabeth Cat. My question is related to the asylum seekers and also the torture claimants. Recently, there were reports that these people committed crimes in Hong Kong, and many citizens expressed their concerns that this torture claims arrangement is being abused. I want to know the cases processed, those staying stranded in Hong Kong, and also their crime figures. The Secretary, thank you for the question. As for the cases outstanding, say the total number of claimants or appellants altogether amount to 9,000 or so. More than 9,000. The number has increased, comparatively speaking, because recently there was a judgment passed by the court, and they can make other claims on other grounds. The administration has to deal with these cases according to the court's judgment. The Immigration Department has done its best in processing the claims, and we need to comply with the law in handling the claims. It takes time. It's right to say that the community is more concerned about this. From 2009 until now, about 800 to 900 such claimants were arrested because of offences. Say, for example, working without permission in Hong Kong. These claimants are not allowed to work in Hong Kong. Some were involved in various offences such as theft and also assaults. Recently, we arrested some people who committed rather serious crimes such as drug trafficking. If they breach the law, anybody will be treated the same, and we deal with them seriously according to the law. Among the claimants, in dealing with the claimants, we need to work according to the decision of the court, and we need to conduct an assessment of the claimants according to the court decisions, and the assessment takes time.
都係面對呢啲情況。
Not only us, but other places of the world are facing the same situation. We are doing our best to handle such claims. Thank you. Chairman, I have a further question. Now, he refers to 9,000 odd cases. How many of them have been assessed and decided, and how many continue to stay in Hong Kong to do the appeals? 4,000 odd cases are subject to, maybe my figures are not correct. Perhaps Ms. Wong can answer the question. Sorry, speakers not coming through. Cases outstanding, 9,000 odd. We have handled about 900. Mr. Christopher Chong. The Security Bureau proposes to attract second-generation Hong Kong immigrants of Chinese origin to come to Hong Kong. The terms are rather relaxed in comparison with the QMAS. If they are conversant in Chinese and English, they have completed a university degree, then they can come back to Hong Kong to find jobs. How many second-generation Hong Kong immigrants can fulfill this, and how many of them are willing to come back to Hong Kong? How long will that scheme last? What are the measures to promote this among the Hong Kong immigrants? Now, with regard to attracting second-generation Hong Kong permanent residents, Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents who have emigrated overseas to return to Hong Kong. Now, these young people, in fact, have the right to vote in Hong Kong, but because of change of law, if their children, by the time of birth, obtain foreign nationality automatically, then these children will not have the right to vote in Hong Kong. Now, if the elder brothers and sisters were given birth before reunification, they have the right to vote in Hong Kong. But the younger brothers and sisters who were born outside Hong Kong will not have right to vote. Now, their parents are Hong Kong permanent residents. They are Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents. Now we see a decline in our labor force. if we can attract some of the second generation of immigrants back to Hong Kong, that may help to strengthen our labor force. Therefore, we started this pilot scheme. How many will apply? Well, we have just started the scheme. Well, we have yet to start the scheme, though we have already announced it. You can guess, but quite a lot of Hong Kong people have emigrated overseas. Not all their children, therefore, will come back to Hong Kong. We just want to provide one more channel to attract people who are related to Hong Kong to come back to Hong Kong to fill up our labor force. As I said, the scheme cannot attract a large number of people back to Hong Kong. Just assume that you have immigrated overseas, you've stayed there for a very long time. You really have to think and think hard on whether you come back or not. We've stated it very clearly. This is a pilot scheme.
We have now announced the scheme, and we are going to visit countries where there are more Hong Kong immigrants, and their second generation might want to come back to Hong Kong. A suitable publicity will be carried out there. Mr. Christopher Chung, you mentioned 3 conditions. I have to supplement 1 point. They will only be qualified if their mother or father is a Hong Kong permanent resident. Mr. James To would like to speak after I drew the line. Well, I was for the first round. My number is number 17. Actually, you raised your hand after I drew the line. It's on the record. I'll give you 2 minutes, Mr. James To. After Mr. James To has spoken, I would proceed to the next item, number 7, the briefing by the Commissioner of ICAC. Mr. Hon Park, an MPC delegate from the FTU, proposed to the adoption of the national security law into Hong Kong. So this is going to be a direct application of the national security law in Hong Kong. A proposal from Mr. Hon Park. Was the administration involved directly or indirectly? Did the administration give a tacit approval of this suggestion? Or is the administration against this, or you are not going to say one way or the other? I can give a direct reply to Mr. To. The SAR government was not involved directly or indirectly or behind the scenes. I answered the same question to the media. We have no plan. We are not prepared to do this. As for the attitude, the position of the SAR government, the Secretary for Justice has put it very clearly. We don't know what form the national security law may be like. And under the basic law, under Article 23, Hong Kong SAR should enact legislation on this. So we don't think this is appropriate. So in other words, you are against this suggestion. We do not see how the mainland law, can be incorporated or introduced into Hong Kong like that. Next item, briefing by the Commissioner ICAC on the CE's 2015 policy address. For this item, we have Mr. Simon Pei, Commissioner, Mr. Ryan Wong, Head of Operations, Ms. Julie Mu, Director of Community Relations, Mr. Chairman Singh, Director of Corruption Prevention.
喂，已經做咗5點。但係你如果已經講咗，我啱講，但係你5點前講，唔得，唔使。好啊，已經講咗。阿白專員，
Commissioner, the summary speaking note is already tabled, so maybe you should be concise in your speech. I would like to introduce to members the following situation. We received 2,362 non-election related complaints in 2014, a drop of 11% compared with 2013. And as for distribution, more are about private organizations, 63%, government departments, 30%, public sector organizations, 7%. There were 51 election-related complaints, mostly related to the 2015 rural representative election and also the by-election of 2013, 2014. Although there's a drop in the number of corruption complaints, Hong Kong remains a clean city. Actually, the situation has improved. In 2014, 222 people were prosecuted. Compared with the previous year, there was an increase of 3%. In terms of number of people prosecuted, the conviction rate was 85%, an increase of 7 percentage points. This shows that our anti-corruption mechanism remains sweet and flexible in dealing with corruption cases, and the deterrent effect remains strong. And according to an opinion survey, which is done annually, only 1.5% of the respondents said that they encountered corruption in the previous 12 months. That means the corruption level remains at a very low level in Hong Kong. Investigation workload was not less difficult because of the number has dropped, because more and more corruption practices are hidden, and they have tried to avoid the culprits are trying to avoid detection, and they use complicated transaction techniques and computer systems. And there are major organizations involved in certain cases for which investigation work has to be conducted very thoroughly. According to the American Heritage Foundation, it published the report on the 27th of January. We remain number one for 21 years. We remain number one as the cleanest city. But according to Transparent International, we have scored one more point, but the rank has dropped from 15 to 17. And there are cases involving former senior officials and well-known businessmen, and because of wide media report, the perception of Hong Kong's cleanliness has been affected. When I assumed the post in 2012, I sensed that there's a difficult situation ahead. I visited many rating agencies in 2013 and 2014, and also Transparent International, to understand how they collect data and come up with the ranks. So apart from explaining what we're doing to fight corruption in Hong Kong, we are also going to do the same with foreign media. We'll continue to strengthen work on this front. In May this year, we are going to host the 6th International Anti-Corruption Conference. We have invited the heads of major rating agencies and international experts to be our keynote speakers. They will be here to share with us on the anti-corruption knowledge base and the strategies to promote clean culture. Sorry, our chairman. It's not here. Chairman, I wanted to raise my hand because I noted that the commissioner was just reading out a prepared speech. I would rather that he doesn't do it. But then I saw that you were not with us. Well, it's the commissioner's briefing. I must let him continue. Commissioner.
多謝主席。14年我哋對於政府機構嘅
In 2014, there's a drop of 14% in relation to the corruption cases involving government departments, and there's a drop of 11% concerning complaints against public sector organizations. Although there were wide media reports on cases which are eye-catching, but this is just about the perception. They remain isolated cases. The civil service in Hong Kong is still very clean. There's a successful prosecution of the former Chief Secretary for Administration and some famous businessmen that demonstrate our commitment to maintain our reputation as a clean city, and then we would apply the law strictly irrespective of the background or status of the people involved. And there's a 9% drop in the number of complaints concerning private organizations. But these are complicated cases. The workload of investigation remained very heavy. For 2015, we're going to target elections because of the new election cycle. To tie in with the 2015 rural representative election, the district council election, and in 2016, we're going to have the electrical election, and 2017 the CE election. We're going to launch a 3-year clean election campaign through publicity and public education to uphold the fairness of the electoral system. We're going to make sure that the relevant bureaus and departments will be given proper anti-corruption advice. We also help the relevant subsector organizations to set up internal control on the registration of electors, and also to enhance the transparency of the management system. There are many. There's a trend of turning corruption into various acts of misconduct in public office. We'll continue to work with the CSP and other government departments and public sector organizations to promote clean governance among the public sector organizations. For the private organizations, we were going to send people to visit them and instill among them and the awareness of anti-corruption. We are going to come up with a anti-corruption guideline for the business sectors so that they know the ethics standards to comply with, and also the anti-corruption measures applicable to commercial organizations. In 2015, apart from paying attention to internal governance and anti-corruption system in the public and private organizations, we continue to work with social service organizations and to step up internal governance and for NGOs. We're also going to come up with ethics modules on anti-corruption for relevant training organizations. This marks the 20th year of the establishment of the Hong Kong Ethics Development Center. We are going to launch a series of public education and publicity activities to maintain the partnership with the business sector and to promote business ethics. Apart from public education, in 2015 we are also going to take anti-corruption education to the ethnic minorities to tie in with the need of the next generation. We are going to use interactive media techniques and launch a social platform to introduce some games for young people to learn about the undesirable consequences of a corruption culture. There will be online reading schemes, and we are also going to prepare e-books to instill positive values about primary students. There will also be a cartoon theme to support ethical education in kindergarten and primary schools. We are also going to strengthen our manpower resources development, and there will be a new standing orders of the advisory. There will be a step-up work on internal audit. Let me stress by ending that corruption problems come in various forms and they are getting more and more complicated. We will remain vigilant and through effective enforcement, public education and prevention, uphold the clean culture in Hong Kong.
Ms. Claudia Mo, Mr. Chan Chi-Chun, Kenneth Kwok, Wong Yuk Man, Wong Kwok Hing, Sid Ho, Kenneth Leung, Priscilla Leung, and Elizabeth Cott. Who else? Who else? Who else? Paul Chair. They have raised their hands before you do. Who else? If there is none, I'll draw a line there because 10 have raised their hands. And I'll ask you, if I extend the meeting further by half an hour, another half an hour, then you will have 3 minutes each. If there is no objection, then we will end our meeting at 6. Ms. Claudia Mo, 3 minutes each. As for Donald Zhang's suspected corruption, it said that the ICAC has given a report to the DOJ. I want to ask you, what is your broad conclusion? It's hard to convict him on corruption because he's a former CE. Is there any information on misconduct in public office? The Commissioner. At the start, I said that we do investigation with disregard to anybody's status. Or, well, that's according to the law, because the ICC is accountable to CE. The DOJ has, Secretary for Justice has issued his view. I have nothing to add. I'm not asking the view of the SJ. I want to ask the Commissioner, you represent the ICAC. Does your report mainly focus on misconduct in public office? The Commissioner, our investigation is kept confidential. We do not disclose the details of investigation. I want to ask the situation about the former Commissioner. What about Timothy Tong's case? What is the progress so far? Not the contents, but the progress. Well, the progress is normal. I don't understand the definition of normal. Commissioner, what is your definition of normal? Normal means normal. The progress is normal. Is it in the middle stage of investigation or at the end of investigation? I think normal is normal. Or former or early stage, maybe you ask it a second question. I want the answer. I want the answer. Is it in the middle of investigation, at the end of investigation, and when will there be a final decision? Chairman, I can only reiterate this point. I am asking the progress. Well, I cannot comment on the stages. Can you tell us on in what stage? He is not going to comment on the stages. I give up. Chan Chi-Chun and then Kenneth Kwok. In last year's policy address, concerning paragraph 191, the administration maintained a high quality governance and relies on a committed civil service. Concerning this year's civil service, paragraph 241, implementing government policy relies on professional civil service team. I found the word, the term clean, disappeared. Is it deliberate? A clean civil service, is it deliberately withdrawn, or is it an oversight, or do you think a clean civil service is not important? In fact, people have high expectation towards a clean civil service. Let's don't say the Timothy Tong or Donald Zhang incident. We asked the question on Donald Zhang. They said very soon, coming soon, whether they prosecute or not, they have to give a full account. And there is also Raphael Hui case, and there's also the C.Y. Leung incident. I'm talking about the whole phenomenon with regard to the team of principal officials, even with regard to the CE. People have very serious doubts about them as far as their integrity is concerned. With regard to paragraph 12, what you said is empty. There is no action. Now, for private sector, you have the guidelines, but what about prevention of corruption and misconduct in public office concerning civil service and also the principal officials? Concerning the statement you mentioned, the policy address, I wasn't involved in drawing up the policy address. I cannot comment on that. But every civil servant has to be clean and uphold integrity. As for public sector, every year we provide integrity education to 20 to 30,000 civil servants. In the whole civil service, every civil servant throughout their career within the civil service has different chances of receiving integrity education. And we do it by invitation and also by volunteer arrangements. What about the principal officials and the CE? How can you educate them? As for principal officials, we have specific seminar on integrity, on the POBO, Mr. Wong Yokman and Mr. Wong Ho Hing. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, the Commissioner mentioned the International Clean Index. This is a kind of impression rather than facts. I think you are just trying to distort the facts. Now, the ICAC has 40 years of good reputation, and you don't have the attitude that nothing is enough as far as fighting corruption is concerned. You just say that there is a gap between impression and facts. What is the fact? Concerning prevention of corruption mechanism, it has failed. You can see it from the Raphael Hui case. The character checks is not done properly. After he has switched his jobs, the character check was not done. The so-called character check, when he was the head of the MPF authority, the character check was not done. You need to plug the loopholes. It's your business. You can't shirk the responsibility. As for promoting integrity among the civil service, you need to do that. You need to plug the loophole. And also, the Chief Justice Lee's committee made recommendations 3 years ago. After 3 years, the holes are not plugged. The loopholes are not plugged. There is no change of the law. The CE is above the law. The POBO, he is above the POBO. The next issue is C.Y. Leung, the $50 million corruption. Have you investigated that? You have not given an account. And the POBO, C.Y. Leung is above the POBO. And next is Donald Zhang, after 3 years of investigation. Now the case is with the DOJ and no answer has been given. So the CE is above the law, and you still has the face to say that there's a gap between impression and reality. 2 CEs are involved in corruption, and they should be investigated. and your predecessor, Timothy Tong, abused power, abused public money. You cannot comment on progress. You cannot comment on content. You don't need to be accountable to the public. Mind you, you are reporting to this council. You should not muddle through. The fourth is tender rigging. What has the ICAC done to prevent tender rigging? The small property owners are suffering. The ICAC is responsible. The next issue is the CAD. It's a scandal. Mr. Wong Kok-heng, and then Ms. Ho. I have two questions for the Commissioner. The first one is about LegCo members who are suspected to have received political donations unlawfully. That has been widely reported. Individuals and groups did report to the ICAC. They even protested to the ICAC. Can the Commissioner tell me, with regard to LegCo members suspected to have received bribes, how many complaints have you received, and have you started any file to follow the matter up? This is the first question. The second question is in relation to the 79-day occupation, and there were reports that complaints were made to the ICAC, Mr. Jimmy Lai, and the organizers, the three organizers, and quite a number of LegCo members and political groups were suspected to be involved in political bribery, unlawful political donations. How many complaints have you received, and have you started investigating these cases? The Commissioner. Chairman, thank you. With regard to complaints, I say that for over 40 years, the ICAC has kept investigations confidential. How many complaints, contents of complaint, who are the complainants, whether we have started investigation, progress investigation, everything is confidential. So I apologize that I cannot answer Mr. Wong's question. Now you are not able to tell us the content. I don't need the content. Can you tell us how many cases, how many complaints you have received? The Commissioner, we do not comment on whether we receive a complaint or not. So I cannot answer on the number of complaints. Then I openly ask the ICAC to seriously uphold the law fairly and squarely. The rule of law is our core value. And if someone is suspected of involving in black money, quote unquote, and use black money to promote political ends and even control this council, it's a very serious matter. The ICAC Commissioner should uphold the law and justice. Ms. Ho. The former Commissioner Timothy Tong was involved in corruption, and therefore he has made the subsequent commissioner's life difficult. It's difficult for you to re-establish the reputation of the ICAC. But in comparison with the corruption of the CE, the corruption of the former commissioner is just peanuts. Now you are, Mr. Commissioner, appointed by the CE, and you are accountable to him. When someone goes to the ICAC to complain against the current CE of suspected corruption, how can you deal with this conflict of interest? The review committee cannot be impartial because the chairman is Tam Wai Chu. Now, And if you look at her position and her background, we really have doubts about it. The second question is anti-rigging of tender. Now, when Ms. Mu said that community work was good and therefore not too many staff members are needed to contact the community. But tender rigging is very serious and the amount of money involved is huge. I want to ask the ICAC, have you stepped up your community work? You asked several questions concerning the CE. Now, Section 3 and 8 are not applicable to the CE, but other sections of the POBO are applicable to the CE. If there is a complaint against the CE with regard to corruption, we will investigate into it fairly. You can be assured about it. As for the basic law, there is a provision to deal with that. As for the ORC, Operation Reviews Committee, there are members who come from the community. The chairman doesn't call the shots. The chairman is to enable the smooth proceeding of the meeting. For 40 years, the ORC has been dealing with the cases fairly and squarely. Mr. Kenneth Leung. And then now on para 6, you said that pursuable cases declined by 14%, paragraph 6. You said that that was the result of good prevention work. But people also say that they don't trust the ICAC and therefore they don't report. What is your view on this argument? This is the first question. The second question is about paragraph 21. The ICAC is going to organize international conferences. When you come to our PAC, you know that we have concerns about international symposia concerning the 2 international symposia. Can you show us the papers, how much money you spent on the international symposia, on the 2 international symposia? Is it your major task with regard to organizing international conferences? The Commissioner. Now, concerning the opinion survey, we have asked the interviewees whether they support the anti-corruption work of the ICAC. 80.6% of the respondents support us. 96.9% of the interviewees were of the view that the ICAC was worth supporting. We are confident that people support the work of the ICAC in terms of fighting corruption. Concerning this percentage of support, has there been any increase or decrease? I think the absolute number is not very meaningful. I'm talking about 90-odd% is a high number. Every year there is a slight variation. On the whole, the level is high.
Second, on the question of international symposium, international conference, well, the participants have to pay for their own expenses apart from the speakers. The participants will have to pay for participating in the conference. But we don't provide any subsidy. How much will be spent on the conference in paragraph 21? I don't have the figure with me. I can supply the information later. Ms. Priscilla Leung. I have to declare my interest as a member of one of the committees serving the ICAC. It said that it's stated in the speech that there is a prosecution I think it's a case involving Leung Wai-Kun. I would like to tell you his case. There was no vote rigging. There was no other offense committed by him. He was only late in submitting the consent form or support consent to quote their support form. But you prosecuted him. It's a criminal prosecution, and after many hearings, he ended up with a criminal record. He was dealt with mercilessly. The DOJ asked him to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs. Ms. Priscilla Leung, if the case has been heard and judged by the court, is it really appropriate for this panel to take it up? Paragraph 5 is on prosecution. This is a very minor case, and he was treated cruelly, and now he had to pay more than $2 million in legal costs. I hope the Commissioner would do the same about accepting bribes, and Mr. Jimmy Lai did not deny that. You have to adopt the same criteria. Don't be strict on some people and so lenient on others. There are famous politicians who would they be subject to the same strict treatment? Would they be asked to undergo so many court hearings if you have a prima facie case? We are not going to discuss individual cases in this panel. Under 41(2), we're talking about sub judice cases, but this case has already been determined. But I don't think we should discuss individual cases. Commissioner, you have to explain. There are 214 people who receive warnings. Commissioner, you have 30 seconds. I'll ask Mr. Wong to respond. With regard to the case referred to by Ms. Priscilla Leung, I don't think we should discuss an individual case. Our criteria are that we would act in accordance with the law strictly, irrespective of the background and the status of the persons involved. We apply consistent standards to our cases. And sometimes we would query that you are really lax and lenient on some people. Whether we're talking about complaints against government departments or public sector organizations, the numbers have dropped. This is good for Hong Kong. It proves that Hong Kong's ICAC is effective. According to the latest assessment by the Heritage Foundation, our score on clean government has dropped, and many people have complained to me that ICAC in Hong Kong is very slow and has not achieved anything in the investigation of bribery cases involving politicians. It seems that the ICAC cannot do anything about these cases. Are you afraid of these people? Would this affect the reputation and effectiveness of the ICAC in combating corruption? Can the ICAC give an account to the public on the investigations that you have conducted? Are you really powerless against these people, these politicians, as I've said, we are fair. We deal with every case fairly. We act in strict accordance with the law. We do not pay attention to individuals' status or background. There are cases which have already gone to the court, and the result has shown that what I'm saying is true. Well, the ICAC should complete the investigation in respect of these cases of involving politicians. If there's no case, you should make an announcement to clear the names. I thank you for your trust. We are going to conduct our investigation fairly and objectively. When the investigation is completed, either we'll take the case to the court or we would wrap up the investigation after reporting to our committees. I want to raise 2 points. Some members have mentioned Mr. Wong Yok Man claims that the CE is above the law. Of course, I don't subscribe to the same view. When the ICAC was set up, the accountability mechanism was that the ICAC would report to the governor, and behind the governor, that's the parliament. So it was appropriate at the time. But now things have changed. And after repeated social movements, and now the CE or even the ICAC commissioner are involved in certain allegations. Should we maintain the mechanism whereby the commissioner will be appointed by the CE alone, and the ICAC commissioner will be accountable to the CE alone? And also in paragraph 12 of the paper, in relation to the offense of misconduct in public office, this is a common law offense, and it's in parallel with the statute law. Because it's common law and common law offense, the definitions and the applicability will be such that many civil servants are worried. Since we also have statute laws in Hong Kong, should there be a review that this particular offense should be turned into a statutory offense? Commissioner, I want to clarify in respect of the first point made by the member. I want to stress that no one is above the law. Everyone is equal before the law. This is an important principle. Apart from sections 3 and 8 of the POPO, which do not apply to the CE, other laws are applicable to the CE. Well, I'm not asking whether the laws are applicable to the CE, but the fact that the Commissioner of ICAC is appointed by the CE and no one else. Well, the Commissioner of ICAC is nominated by the CE and appointed by the Central People's Government. He is not appointed by the CE, so the mechanism has taken this particular point into account. All members have completed the first round. We have 2 members in the second round. Anyone else? Mr. Paul Chair. Every member will be given 2 minutes in this round, and then we would wrap up and move on. I want Ms. Julie Mu to answer my question. Do you agree that previously you told this council that there was adequate work in the community? That was not true, because tender rigging is so serious that every small property owner is now affected. At that time, I was not actually saying that community work was very good and there was no need to do something about property management. The ICAC, not just the community relations department, the crime prevention department have also done a lot in regulating building management issues. Tender rigging is a complicated issue. It's not something solely under the ICAC. Only if corruption is involved would tender rigging involves the ICAC. If triad societies are involved, then it's under the purview of the police. Well, we have to look at community relations work. You are promoting anti-corruption in the community. You also advise people to prevent corruption. So do you think that your department has been doing a good job in preventing tender rigging? We have done a lot. Is it adequate? Why is it that tender rigging has become serious, more serious? I don't think it's the responsibility of the ICAC alone. I can tell members here that there are more problems than corruption problems. Tender rigging of building management issues also involve triad societies, and that's why the police have set up special working groups to tackle this. It's because tender rigging is not as simple as that. Mr. Kenneth Leung, in recent years, we have seen an increase in money laundering activities. It has been reported that JFRU and the police and professional people in the JFRU have been lost to the business sector because of the higher pay they can get outside.
I want to know the cooperation and division of labor between the ICAC and the JFRU. I'm concerned that because of the financial institutions attach importance to compliance, I'm concerned about your manpower wastage. How serious is your manpower wastage? Mr. Wong will answer the question. As for the cooperation between the IC and the JFRU of the police, we maintain a close link with them. If there is any money laundering activities that involve corruption, then it will be followed by the ICAC. The present arrangement is good. As for the wastage rate of the ICAC, in the past few years, we saw that colleagues who had accumulated some experience had left the ICAC, in particular those who worked in relation to compliance. And we discussed that issue with the Commissioner. With the efforts of the past 2 years or so, the wastage rate has reduced substantially. In 2013-14, the non-natural wastage reduced to less than 3%. Mr. Paul Chair, my question is not about who appoints whom. We know the focus of the matter. We just ask the authority to consider changing the law. As for misconduct in public office, should there be any review in the law? Mr. Wong. Thank you, Chairman. Misconduct in public office is a common law offense. When prosecution is instigated, that caused some confusion, in particular among the civil servants. But after law enforcement for about 10 years and also the related prosecutions, the courts of Hong Kong have issued rather clear guidelines. One is the Sham Kok Se case and the other is Sin Kam Wah case. The two cases were handled by the CFA. As for the Sin Kam Wah case, the CFA looked at the common law offense of misconduct in public office and listed 5 elements of this offense. And therefore, there's a clear guideline for public officers and civil servants in particular. As for the question of whether we have considered changing it from common law into statute law, but in the Sham Kok Se case, the CFA formed a point of view. Leaving the offense in as a common law offense has the merit of allowing the law to keep pace with the times. In the subsequent years of law enforcement and prosecutions, we have seen there is merit of this arrangement. I have only 10 seconds to keep pace with times. It doesn't mean that you can leave it as common law offense. You should leave it as common law offense. Any statutes can be updated with the times. I just hope that you can merge the two tracks. All right, we end our discussion on this item. And we thank the Commissioner and other officials for coming. We come to agenda item number 8, and that is the provision of a barge operating platform for the marine region of the Hong Kong Police Force. The officials attending our meeting are Mr. John Lee, Ms. Millie Ng Kiang, Mrs. Millie Ng, Mr. Patrick Hodson, Deputy Regional Commander of the Police, and Mr. James Martha, Superintendent of the Hong Kong Police Force. The paper is CB 2534/07. The paper have been sent to members. I would like to remind members who participate in the discussion, according to our rule of procedures, members should not have any move any motion or amendment in respect of any direct or pecuniary interest or speak on such an item unless the member has disclosed the interest, the nature of the interest. I just want to draw attention to this. Mr. Lee, could you introduce the paper, please? Chairman, we'd like to consult the panel on a proposal by the Hong Kong Police Force to acquire a barge operation platform. The Marine Police is to maintain the borders, and also to prevent, to preserve integrity of the BOA and also for prevent illegal immigration, illicit activities. As for the barge operating platform, that will be a floating outpost for the police so that we can maintain stable law enforcement at sea and to prevent illegal immigrants and illicit activities at sea, support marine safety, and deal with anti-terrorism. In 2010, we had a floating platform to deal with smuggling, and now we need to rely on the speedboats in the Tolo Harbor to Starling Inlet. When we arrive at the scene, the situation might have already changed. The new platform will enhance our response. The police has more than 12 years of experience of using operating platform to help us in Tolo Channel, in High Island, and also in Deep Bay. We have similar floating platforms, and they are very effective in anti-smuggling, and the operating platform can provide space and for our operation and for our equipment. We are happy to answer questions. Who would like to ask questions? Elizabeth Cut. Since the administration has 12 years of successful experience, 3 minutes each. Why only after 4 years you propose to provide this operating platform? In comparison with other places where there is a platform, is there any difference in combating, say, smuggling or illegal immigration? In Starling Inlet, to a certain extent, there is a floating facility. But it is a tanker. It is floating like a barge, but it doesn't have any engine. It cannot move. The facilities are rather crude. I can ask Mr. Hodgson to tell you how crude the facilities are. Now, because of this, this floating facility is open to the inspection, so the operation of police cannot be kept confidential. The facility is very simple. It is not high enough to conduct long-range views, and there is no supporting vessels. When there is need, we will send vessels to this facility. And we can only ask other marine police boats to give support, then the response is slow. With this new facility, now it has engine, it is taller, it is bigger, it is movable. It can be a command post to do rescue. Say, suppose in Starling Inlet or in other places, if rescue is needed, the barge can go there. And it also has communication equipment. The present communication equipment is just a mobile, just sort of a walkie-talkie. When marine police arrive there, they can use the walkie-talkie, but that is not good enough. This new BOP has radar and other communication equipment, and also night vision equipment. The efficiency will be much higher. And if there is an operational need, signals and images can be sent to the headquarters immediately, and more vessels can be deployed from headquarters. And now, Austin, well, I understand this. Why don't you apply earlier? Briefly. Yes, briefly. There is a committee in the Marine Police headquarters which is responsible for setting priorities and reviewing the facilities. They decide on the timetable for making applications for what sort of activities or facilities. And they need to replace vessels, therefore they just have to wait. Mr. Yik, Mr. Frankie Yik, and then Ms. Ann Chang. My question, to a certain extent, is answered by Mr. Lee. Now, you say that is self-propulsion. Are you going to buy a second-hand barge, or you order a new barge? We will do tender. We'll do tendering exercise. There are certain conditions and specifications. So it's a new boat, a new barge, right? It is quite far away from the urban area. Since a new one, a barge is rather stable. Will there be a helipad? You make it bigger so that if need be, the helicopters can land. We have thought about the needs of the new barge, but we don't see any need to make use of it as a helipad. We have other facilities. If need be, If we need helicopter, we have other facilities. But in this one, we have no such plan. Ms. Chiang. Chairman, my question is very simple, just a simple one. In Deep Bay, in Tolo Channel, in Sai Kung, there are 4 BOPs. Concerning these BOPs, how effective are they in combating illegal immigration, illegal immigrants, and also illegal smuggling? Ms. Lee. As for the crime figures handled by the police, I can provide you for reference. In 2014, for the marine regions, checking of safety and also dealing with counterfeit prohibited products, 80,000 cases, and seeking for help, 32,000 cases. As for cracking down smuggling cases, 41 cases. Detecting criminal cases, 130, including drugs, illegal smuggling, amount of money involved in smuggling, 46 million in 2014. We may not have arrested a lot of people, but in 2014, we identified on 300 occasions speedboats entering and leaving Hong Kong. They may involve smuggling because, ordinarily speaking, they don't need to travel at such a high speed. They arrested about 500, 600 illegal immigrants every year. As for lives rescued, about 55 cases. And about 200 cases in which people are saved or assisted. Any other questions? Paul Chair.
Well, the BOP will be commissioned in 2018. It's a long time ahead. There may be similar BOPs, maybe not as new. After this one is commissioned, do we need more? And if so, how many more? Because the lead time is so long, maybe we should get prepared now. Are there other places where the service of a BOP would be required in the long run? Well, Undersecretary, Marine Police works within the setup of a system. It's not just about getting some vessels. They have a system, surveillance system. They are bigger patrol boats doing the patrol in deeper waters. And they also quick response launches, which can arrive at the scene quickly. And there's also a surveillance system. There's radar, and also on land there will be a CCTV systems. And through all these, they carry out police work in our waters. This is different from what it used to be in the past. We use bigger vessels. It's a so-called a ring of steel. In our waters, we have a ring of patrol boats. But recently, there are more smuggling activities. The criminals use high-speed speedboats, so it's not effective to use a ring of steel. Therefore, they have these 4 elements in their system. When we decide on the number of boats or facilities, of course, money is a consideration. We have to make sure that there is proper coordination and communication between different units. With this platform, we can put the equipment that we use on land formations there. Of course, if you have more vessels, it's always better. But we need to bear in mind the resource implications, and every component in the system, every element in the system must tie in with the others. So they would generally look for the need in the next 10 years. Actually, I have recently visited their platforms. Yes, it's really very good now, and they urgently need upgrading. All right, I think that's all for this particular discussion. So, members, do we say that we have no in principle objection of submitting this item to the Finance Committee? All right, so we are in agreement. So it's endorsed, and we can now move on to item 9, AOB. There's nothing under AOB. So meeting's adjourned. Thank you.